Hey, girl. Hey, welcome to the SheShed. I'm super excited to have you here tonight. Tonight, I have a guest in that's waiting back in the green room. But before she jumps on, I want to just talk to you for a quick minute. And I want to remind you, and this is also while I'm letting individuals come in, but I want to remind you of what this month is all about. It is Child Awareness Month. And this is an opportunity for you to really pour into the youth in our community. And y'all know how I am. I say it all the time and I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. Each one of us have a 6-year old that lives inside of us. Maybe that's the child that you need to pour into this month. Maybe she's the one that needs your attention. Maybe she's the one that needs your love. Maybe she's the one that needs you to invest in her. So often we're quick to go out and help everybody else, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what's going on inside of you is tore up and raggedy. And here's the thing: if you are a mess inside, you are going to give a mess to other people. So let's work on us. And so the rest of this month, we have what, 10 more days in this month. I want you to ask yourself this question: what can I do for the little girl, for that 6-year old that lives inside of me? What can I do to help her to grow into the person I desire to be? I just want you to think about it, because that right there is going to be enough for you to give you something to do for the next 10 days. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you my friend Juanita Gaynor, and she is a what I consider a rock star. And the reason I say that is because I am all about taking the things that you have been through in life and making something of it. Everything that you go through in life is necessary. It is part of your growth. It is helping you to become who you are. Juanita is the CEO of 5 businesses, and y'all know my rule: you need to have 7 streams of income. And so she's doing it, because not only does she have those 5 businesses, she's a best-selling author. She has a podcast, and she got a ministry too, y'all. I want to hear all about the stuff. Like she is doing what I talk about. Y'all need to make sure that you are self-reliant, because as a boss, we got to be bold. We got to be optimistic. We got to be strategic, and we got to be self-reliant. And girlfriend is doing it. So what I want to do, I'm going to bring her on. Y'all hold on one moment. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey.
Thank you for coming and joining us in the SheShed. Like, this is the space where women come in and shed the weight. Shed the weight so that we give permission to other women that are afraid to shed. We give them permission to shed.
Awesome. Awesome. Well,
So,
thank you so much for having me.
well, thank you. And so I told him about, you have this you have an empire. This is what we consider an empire. When you have different facets of business, that's an empire. And that's what we want. We want to have an empire. Like, that's what, in my opinion, and my relationship says, that's what God wants us to have, is an empire. Like, who are you impacting? What are you over? So can you tell us a little bit about Juanita and the things that she's doing right now in the community? I don't want to go too deep, because I want to
Okay.
spread at the end why they need to
Okay.
connect with you. But what are you doing?
Right. So, hello everyone. I am, like, the lovely Tina was saying, I am the CEO of 5 businesses. I have an event management company that will be 30 years old next year. That was my very first business. I was 14 when I started planning, and because of certain things in life and traumas and stuff, event planning was something I can control. I could control the outcome. I could help somebody. I could be that pleaser. And so in doing so, I was using it to make money, but it was a method behind it. And then we have the accounting firm, which I've been an accountant basically all my life. I used to do my aunt's, she used to own houses, and I used to manage collecting a rent and keeping the books and making sure the expenses was getting paid. So decided to convert that into a business, so that as it grows, I can employ people. I can empower people to, be able to, have their own income. And then we have notary services, and the most recent venture is the book publishing. I was doing some self-publishing for a long while, and decided to, instead of the, you can do your self-publishing, but I wanted to do it legit. I wanted to have the proper registration, the proper ISBN numbers. I wanted it, other people who may not have those types of funds to be able to be there for those women who has a story to tell, to help them tell that story. And then the ministry. We'll talk more about how the ministry came about, because it will tie in to later, whatever. But that was to begin to my own healing, but also to help other hurt people who just didn't know where to go, who didn't have the resources. Just a tidbit of my story: my mother was an addict, but she didn't survive. She gave us away. And when you think about, there's nothing really for those types of children whose parents deceased from drugs, or they were raised by someone else. There's always that support for those who's active addicts and whatever. So that's the purpose of the ministry, is to provide that type of support.
That's big. Oh, I want to talk about that. Go ahead, keep going.
And then, and my consulting business, which is named, of course, after me, I don't even consider that a business. What that was is me moving back into the call and the purpose that God was having me do, to talk to people, to heal that inner trauma, to address, especially women in business, the fear and the trauma that they have surrounding money and success, and how we sabotage, and how we don't heal that little 5 and 6 year old inner child. And how it's levels to that healing. It's
Yeah.
not just the little child, it's levels to it. And so I'm actively back into that space, speaking, and speaking life into those, and doing workshops. And that's also where the podcast comes into play. It is, great biblical teaching, but also partnering with others who have similar traumas, and just so that you can see how they've moved about it in their life
Mm,
and been
mm,
successful.
mm. I love that. Like there's so many avenues that we can go down, with the things that you do. So what I want to focus on, because this month, like I said, we're talking about child awareness. And, you know, so I am, and most people know this by now, but I am the mother of two daughters that I adopted that started off as foster kids, and we adopted them, and it was what, 23 years ago. They're my babies,
Yeah,
right?
they belong
Yeah,
to
they're
you.
my babies. Like I was just talking to my daughter, and somebody was like, I didn't realize that you wasn't. It's like, you would not know.
That's right.
Um, but it is something when you talk about, you're right. Like there is so much help out there. Well, not there is help, not so much. There is help out there for children, limited help for children in foster care. And once they age out, that goes away. Okay. But then, like you said, but what about those individuals whose parents transitioned because of drugs? Like, what kind of services are you offering them? Like, there's so many things that's going on in there. They're dealing with the trauma of being in foster care.
Yeah.
And then the death of someone that they really didn't know because they was never really available to them.
Right.
So I want to know more about that ministry and what you're doing there, because that's big.
Yeah. Um, especially when it comes to, that heroin epidemic. And a lot of people don't talk about it. They talk about the crack epidemic, but what scares me is that heroin is back on the rise, and heroin is what took my mother. And what it was is that they were like, oh well, you're with your grandmother now and you're fine. I presented as fine because I had to. I helped her raise my brother, and then years go by, there's no counseling. You don't understand why, you was abused, or why she beat you, or why she allowed other people to do what she did, because she's deceased now. They're not working on a reunification plan. She's deceased. So you're completely, in their mind, you're still in the system, but you're not in the system when it comes to the mental health aspect of it. And then
Mm.
so they focus on other things, like, that they can like, okay, we're going to get you, into school. We're going to do this, but you mentally, you're still jacked up. Emotionally, you're still jacked up because it's like, maybe I should talk to somebody. Well, no, you don't need to talk to somebody. And then don't be from a Black family. Therapy is talk down there like, you're fine. You're fine. You're just something wrong with you. I'm just like, well, I want to know how do I have this person that I'm trying to get answers about who was so wrapped up in drugs and they're gone. And I don't and no one's talking to me about the life we had to live. Because now when I say she's deceased, see, they don't talk about the torment that the children go through
Yeah.
when the parents deceased,
Right.
because there's no reunification plan.
Right.
There's no behavior modification plan. So
Right.
we're left with all of that emotion and all of that baggage because the person's deceased now. There's no point. We'll just let them, we'll put them either in a home or foster care with a family member and let them move on and they should be
Mm-hmm.
fine.
Yeah, yeah. And let the families or the foster parents deal with whatever's going on with them with
Right.
no help. So what is it that um so many things. Why don't you just like open up the door? This is not how this conversation was supposed to
So
go.
I'm,
Like,
I'm gonna give you a tidbit on how the ministry is working to do that. We're working to open safe spaces for people to begin the conversation, because you'll be amazed at how many children or adults, young and old, don't even know they need to talk to somebody, who don't even know that there was something ever wrong in their life, because some of them went from one abusive situation and then went right into another one. So it starts off being the safe space for them to talk about things that are going through, and knowing that, okay, we have counselors, we
mm,
have life coaches, we have these things in place so that when you're really ready to make that big move, we have
yeah,
people in place to help guide you. But for right now, if all you want to come do every week, and just say, I don't know why I'm here, but I know I need to be here, that's what we're going to be for you. It's
that's
that
right.
safe space until they feel safe
That's
to
right.
say what's going on.
That's right.
And so
Yeah.
that's what we're working on with that one.
Okay, I like that. And it's so, like we have to be very careful when we say, it's a safe space. But if you've never known a safe space, you don't know what that is. So sometimes, so I know a lot of times when I'm doing my peer support group, I often say, this is your brave space. This is where you can be brave.
Yeah.
They might not know what safe is. They might not know what it looks like to be able to share, because for all their life they've been told, don't say anything, don't
Right.
tell nobody. What go on in our house, stay in our house. And then here you are as an adult, like you said, don't know what to do, don't
Yep.
know how to have a communication. If something is triggering you, you don't know what to say, what to do. So how do you, so you said you do have you have counselors and everything that is able and available there.
Yes.
Well, I love that. Like I love that idea, because I'll be honest, I thought about how when kids age out, there's no help for them. But I never thought about the fact that, because foster care is all about trying to reunite those families and bring them back together. And if that person is deceased, that is not an option. And so
Yep.
what is there for them and what help is there?
Right.
That's, girl, I
Yes.
like that. I like that. I
Yeah.
mean, not like it in like it's a
I
great
know
thing,
what
but
you meant. I
yeah,
know. Because
yeah.
it's, you don't think about it until it took me. I remember I was sitting there one day, and there was a woman who looks just like my mother. My mother sang too, and she was also a singer, and she was a recovering addict. And it was so amazing about, she was with her children. She had them around and she was able to see them raised. And I'm just like, and she was talking about, they were talking about all the help that they got to get to that point. And this was before I started going into counseling for healing. And I'm just like, but what about me? I
Mm,
think I was in my 30s. And I was like, well, what about me?
mm,
Why, because does nobody care about how I feel? And that was the first real moment to say, okay, you've healed from some things, but you haven't healed from everything.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's where the levels come into play with the healing.
Gosh, that's good. I like, yeah, girl. I like that. Because I like that, because, like you said, sometimes you don't realize, because I deal with survivors of domestic abuse and sexual assault, and you're aware of that. But it takes, you don't realize that you don't know what you need until you need it,
Yeah.
until you hear it from someone. Like your revelation was, you got help. What's that? What did that
Yeah.
look like? Why didn't they offer that to me? Like I could have used that a long time ago.
Yeah.
So if you was to, if so you say that, because a lot of, I'm assuming, and mother always said never assume, but if I'm assuming that the individuals that come to you now are adults that's dealing with this.
I mean, we're not talking even my age. We're talking 50, 60, 70-year-old women who the father, not only did the father die, but now the husband that they married that represented the father has now died, and now they've had to deal with the grief or whatever, to deal with, okay, this is why I chose this person, or I was married off to this person because of whatever. And so they're now sitting in their grief, wondering what they've done with their life, and realizing that, the 14-year old that daddy abused and had married off to, his best friend, so they can do the same thing. That, where's that person, where's that child?
Wow. 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 Okay. Whew. I know, like I said. But this is good, because it just goes to show this is why we need Child Awareness Month, because there are different levels
Yeah.
of, I don't want to say different levels of children, but different.
There's different levels of healing.
Well, what I was really thinking about, like, you have those individuals that are going to soar and they're going to be, the greatest thing, and we're pouring it in, right? But what about the ones that's underserved, the ones that we don't think about? What about those children? Who's working with them?
And even the ones that soar, because see, the thing is too, a lot of the times you have to look at some of these children that do soar. Many of them soar because of their trauma.
It's true.
So what happens is that the reason why a lot of people don't go for healing, because therefore the things and the goals and the stuff that they went poured into would dissipate once healing has taken place, because the meaning doesn't mean the same no more. You're not trying to get out of something. And so even the underserved ones I'm worried about, but I am worried also about those who say they're so successful and that they've gotten over this or whatever. What happens when that money goes? What
Wow.
happens when, you get canceled on social media and that shiny apple isn't there anymore? That's when it crumbles down. And those are the ones that can be dangerous in their healing, because now it's just like, I've done all of this to hide and get away. Those are the ones that hide
Mm,
at the best. Because the
mm,
ones that are underserved, the ones that are struggling, we can see that. We can, kind of get in on the ground. It's the ones who, that everything is all well. Well, that healing is still necessary, because if you're over a multi-billion-dollar company and one false move shifts that, you can go spiraling.
that's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. And then the other thing I think about, when you think about it from that perspective, many of the ones that are succeeding and successful don't realize that they have trauma.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother level of healing,
Yeah.
because before you can heal anything, you got to admit it.
Well, and not only admit it, you have to know it goes deeper than admitting it. It's knowing that it's there. Because you can say, yeah, I'm a little off, or yeah, I've had some issues growing up, but it's really knowing that, wait a minute, this is not supposed to happen. Case in point, I'm a abuser, I'm a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, physical abuse, and domestic violence. And I remember I had been sexually abused from the time I was probably 6 years old until I was about maybe 14, 15. And it was normal. I remember when I would go to my grandmother's house and nothing would happen to me, I would think her house is weird,
Wow.
because a night me not being abused was unheard of. So I was watching an episode of Oprah, And they were doing that, and that was that big time when she was coming out about herself being abused and how wrong it was and the things she went through. And that's when a light bulb off in my head and was like, that's not supposed to happen to you. That's not supposed to be how my life is. And I think for a year and a half, I went on a very destructive spiral because the life that I knew was a lie.
What did that look like? What did that, because I want to finish that, but what did that destructive?
I mean, I was out in the street doing anything and anything bad enough I could do. I would put myself in situations hoping someone else would pull the trigger because I knew I was called and I knew I had a purpose and I wouldn't do it. So if someone else would do it, it wouldn't be considered suicide, but it really would. Technically it would be because, whatever. So I would do anything, be all up in the street, big and bad, even though I was big and bad, putting myself and being in places that a young lady just shouldn't be. Wow. Illegal, legal games, whatever it was, I was out there. And when that didn't work, and it was just like, okay, God, what we doing?
Right.
And it was like, I was compliant for a little bit, and it was like, yeah, we not gonna do that. So I'm still gonna do what I want to do. And at that point, the event planning company was still fully functioning. So I would stop for a year and then I would go back up because see, I can control what I did in events. So therefore, that was how that lasted so long. And then when the big corporate crash came and they wasn't renewing, contracts at $200,000 and $300,000 and $400,000 a year per company for, all of their events, reality hits now. And it's just like, I'm going to have to deal with this stuff for real. I'm really going to have to see what it looks like. And so, okay, we'll entertain. I'll, did some reading, still not going to counseling because as in a told in a black home counseling, there's nothing wrong with you. Mm-hmm. You don't do that. And still, twaddling whatever. And I think it was 9 years ago when I was doing, I did my first, maybe my third speaking engagement where I was not going to be, I was going to be in front of people. I had done, radio things. I was going to be in front of people. And I'm telling my story. And I remember coming back from the rehearsal, I had a complete meltdown. Mm-hmm. I remember a coworker, she said, listen, I'm going to need you to call maybe, you how work had the EAP line, to call them or whatever. And I was never going to go. And she said something because I love children. I'm a lover of children. I'm a protector of them. And she said, if you don't do it for me, do it for Bella. I would do anything for that little girl. So, I was on the phone. She knew the trigger. And I think I realized something was wrong when the life coach was like, I need you to call your insurance and I need you to make an appointment today. And we couldn't get through. And I promised, I said, I'm going to make the appointment. I promise. And I remember when I made the appointment, I got there. I said, can y'all please do me a favor? I said, can you call? I gave her the card. I said, because she let me leave without making this appointment, or whatever, because technically she was supposed to have me committed. She should have called. I was so far off the ledge. She should have called and they should have came and picked me up. Oh, wow. That's how bad I was.
Wow.
And they told me this: it's okay that you're not okay. He was like, you're so far down the rabbit hole, you don't even know how messed up you are. But it's okay. And that was the first time someone told me that it was okay to not be okay. And it was a great process after that, being validated, learning how to feel, learning how to deal with emotions. That's a scary thing.
Yeah, because we're told not to deal. You don't deal with emotions.
No, they don't exist. Forget deal. They don't exist when it comes to you. They don't exist.
That's true. That's true.
She would say, it's okay that you feel sad. It's okay that you're hurt that someone does you. If you wasn't feeling this way, because I was calling her every 20 minutes. What's this? And so it's a thing.
Yeah.
And then
okay.
And then so it was just like, it was a process, but it's a thing to be like, it always is some triggering moment that makes you realize that you need that assistance.
Yeah. So if there is someone that's like you said, there is a triggering moment, and you're right, it's something, and sometimes it's a voice that's not yours. Okay, but if you was to say, what could a triggering moment actually look like? Because there's someone out there that's going through, just like you said, their denial. I'm good. This is a norm. This is the way life is supposed to be. I'm not supposed to feel this way. What would you say?
So how it presents itself, it's first you're like, you have this look and this feel of you're lost because this feeling isn't something you're used to. This feeling feels like someone cares, that someone is loving, that someone has wrapped their arms around you. So it feels real strange. It's like God has wrapped his arms around you. He's like, okay, you can understand that that wasn't your life. We need to get something done about it. And it doesn't, it's triggering the way that it makes you think about what life is, but it doesn't make you want to go off on the deep end.
Right.
Now, let me preface with to say that there could be some mental health issues that could change.
Correct.
I'm just talking about in the space of maybe anxiety, depression, PTSD. It's a feeling of warmth and calm that we're not used to in those spaces,
Right.
you
Right.
know. And so when that happens, um this is where I want R2L to be, is that's a phone call that they can make.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I'm feeling this feeling, I don't understand what it is, you know, can you help me talk through this or walk through this?
Yeah.
And that's what it is, because sometimes you feel it and you don't have nobody to talk to, you don't
That's
have
right.
nobody to walk you through it, to be like, okay, so who's your doctor, do you have a therapist, and somebody be like, and I know me, I was like, hey, I'm not doing that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You don't
You
have
have
to do
to.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Come talk to me. And what that person is going to need to do is just talk, because the other person, if you're the person that receives that call, let me give some advice. If you're the person that receives that call, let me tell you what that meant. That person trusts you enough with their emotions and their heart and their feelings to reach out. This is not a time to talk, whatever. All you need to do is listen and pray. All you need to do is reassure them that the path that they're going on, it's going to be okay. It's for you to just, I'm here for you. I may not have that right now, but I can find somebody who does. That is all you need to do.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And I will add to that too. It's not your job to fix it.
Yes.
Don't try to
Yes.
fix it. All they need is someone that will listen to them and validate what they're saying. Whether you believe it or not, they just need someone to validate that what's going on in their head and they're not crazy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So when you're okay, so we don't want to, we're gonna talk about like tools, but that is the main thing. Like just be there, just
Yeah.
listen, just listen. So okay, so you talked a little bit about being um sexually assaulted as a child, and then you mentioned domestic violence. And was that as a, I'm assuming that was when you was out there wilding, or
Most of my
no?
marriage. I'm
Okay.
divorced.
Okay.
Um, and it was more in the lines of not a physical, not physically, because at that point I had been beaten so much by my mother and whatever. I was never going to let you touch me. But the emotional manipulation, the gaslighting, I remember an instance where we got into an argument and he decided to, we was in a public restaurant, and something he had did, he decided to pull his gun on himself and was like, oh, I'll just take my life here. Yeah. Yeah.
In the restaurant.
In a restaurant. In a restaurant. So what do you do to that? You shut up, you let it slide, and you just keep on, because again, no one's never fought for you. Your
Right.
job has always been to make sure everyone else is good, so you back up,
Right.
whatever, because now it's like, well, if he does that or whatever, then they're going to be looking at me and they're going to say, why did I push it? So you don't say nothing,
Right. Right.
you
Right.
know.
Right.
And trust me, I would tell a lot of people, people say, difference, whatever. The mental, the mental. I've been divorced almost 20 years, and I have to catch myself sometimes. Like my boyfriend will say, "I'm not that dude," and he shows me more. Like he literally shows me what he's gonna do. He'll just do it, and that's what I need to see, because then I'm not always equating to who used to do
Mhm,
something.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
So,
Or who didn't? Yeah, yeah,
hmm
yeah. And okay, and so and I think so. I was talking to a guest a couple weeks ago, um, and Desiree, and we was talking about how the things that in our childhood, how it affects us in our adulthood. And you just made a very good point. It was like, he had to show you because you hadn't been shown
yep,
that as a child.
yep,
So now as the adult, that child and you need, I need to see this.
yep.
What is it? I had someone tell me, I'm from the show me state. You got to show me.
You know
Words
what?
mean nothing.
Nothing at all. And it's not sad, because people can say and mean what they, and mean well when they say something, but it's only in their actions. It's only now for us people who have been in abusive situations. Oh, when we say what we say, we mean
We mean
what
it.
we say, because at that point, when we start talking, we have become fed up, and we're in what I call fight or flight mode now.
Mhm, mhm,
And
mhm,
when I say we want all the smoke, then,
mhm,
and
mhm,
so, and in dealing with that is learning how to take that and cultivate that to conduct business, and take that voice and not let it be as harsh, but still be authoritative and get things done.
mhm, mhm.
you
Yeah.
know it's the lens that sometimes trauma and abuse gives us is, we get to see who you are.
Mhm, mhm,
We see it real quickly, so you can't really get over on us. But what we have to do in the healing process is that we learn how to use that to build better business relationships, to build better business deals, to know how further to protect yourself. Because that means it's like, yeah, we're not going to do a handshake deal on that. We're going to do a contract,
yep.
because I
Yep.
see you.
Right, right, right. And and that's so key. That's a good point and a good transition. So it's like, we can't look at our childhood trauma as a way to hold us back. It taught you something. You have to figure out what it taught you and you find it in your healing, right? And
Hmm.
so, like you said, you realize that words mean nothing. I need that in writing. I
Yep.
need it in writing. Well, can you send me an email? Well, I just talked to you on the phone. Yep, but can you send me an email? You know, you're more intentional about who you bringing on your team. You know, so yeah. So it's like, so what if you had to say what is the best lesson? This is a weird question, but work with me. What is the best lesson your trauma taught you?
Whew. Hmm.
I know I should have sent you that and let you think about it, but I wanted that. Like, what is it?
You know what it taught me
Hmm.
is that I really do like interaction. Like, I really do like people. Because people may think that I'm just so whatever. I really do like to be held, or like to be, told, thank you, or celebrated. And I'm getting better at it, at doing it, doing things for my birthday or celebrating myself. Like, I really do like that. I've always done it for other people, but I'm like, wait a minute, I
I
like
love
it
that.
for myself now. I do like being around people, not all the time, but way more than normal, because it wasn't about, I stayed away because it was easier. You
It
stayed
was
out of the line
safe.
of fire.
It was safe.
Hmm.
It was safe. That's interesting. It's really, really. I'm glad you brought that up because let me. I'm glad that you brought that up because I know for a long time I used to think I was an introvert, And then I realized I wasn't an introvert. I just was protecting myself. And so I isolated. I'm not an extrovert either. I don't get wound up around people. I do what I have to do and then leave me alone. Let me get back. And so there's this term called omnivert. And it's like, it's that in between. You love to be around people, but it drains you. So you go in isolation to
Yep.
rebuild,
Yep.
right? And so
Absolutely.
it sounds like, and what I had to learn, I didn't find that out until I went through my healing process.
Yep.
And like you said, we don't want to be touched until you go through that healing. It's like, yeah, hey, give me a hug. How you doing? You know?
Right. And the thing is too is like, and people was like, and I remember and going through the process when one of the pastors said, and I knew it was God that told him, and he was like, well, you got to start recording back when your husband touches you or whatever and things like that. And I'm just like, yeah. And he said, well, have you told him? And I remember saying as clear as day, I was like, well, I don't feel safe with him. And he literally said, he was like, yeah, you're going to divorce. He says this marriage is not going to last. And it didn't. But that was the thing. It was like, if you can't trust, like, I feel so safe. My relationship now, I feel so safe with him. Like, he could say, we going to the moon and I'm going to pack up with snacks and we going. Because he going to make sure I'm good. Okay. And that's where, and he's shown that. And I'm not, scared of whatever. My therapist's concern for me was is that I am an introvert, and that's how it was so easy for me to mask a lot of the issues I had, because I didn't really, I by nature just don't, I don't want to, I like people, but literally, COVID was a blessing for me. I was like that. It's a blessing for me. So that was for those people who really are introverts. Trauma, the healing from that is a little bit more intense because you you've been able to mask all of the issues. I was able to mask the depression, the PTSD, the anxiety, because I didn't want to be around people. So people, they was never really to see it on display until I had a blow up or until I had a meltdown.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good observation. That's real good. That's true. Yeah. It's like yeah, you going about life and people know you, so they know, oh, she just quiet. She don't really talk. I had someone that knows me now, that knew me back in the day and now know me. Like, you two totally different people. I said, I know.
yeah,
I know.
yeah.
I know. Just pray for me, child. I know. Um, but yeah, it's that healing process. So if you knew someone was actually, well, no, I'll give this. What is the advice that you would give the little girl that was in foster care, knowing what you know now? What advice would you give her?
That is not your fault. It wasn't your job to take care of your brothers and sisters. It wasn't your job to make sure mommy and daddy was okay. You were supposed to be protected. You were supposed to be loved. And you were justified in being angry. Being angry doesn't make you less loved. Being angry don't make you less of being a beautiful young lady. It makes you feel. It makes you human. And it allows people to really see you so you don't mask what's going on.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I love you. And I just appreciate you taking the time. So those of you that know have heard, Juanita has a podcast, Moving Past You podcast, and it's where she's talking about how to move past your past, how to
Mm-hmm.
deal with your past, and it's conversations just like we just had about why it's important for you to let it go. So I encourage you to reach out, to seek out. How else can they reach out to you?
Well, they can reach out on to my website. It's www.juanitaegaynor.com. And we are revamping the site because so much traffic has come through. So about 9 p.m. there will be a link on there. So anyone who goes and sign up for our newsletter, they will receive our lovely the brand new ebook that is due to come out in the next couple of weeks, because it's, oh my, when I say that God has been moving into such a great, process, he has. And so the ebook is called Healing from the Fear of Success, Rebuilding Intimacy and Connection and Relationships. And that is due to fully drop on June 30th. So at 9 p.m. This evening, there will be a link to sign up for the newsletter and to actually get a hold of that copy of that, because it has great tips on doing self-care, on taking care of identifying the steps, understanding that, being successful isn't something that can be feared. That fear isn't what people think it is, under really spelling out what fear means. I think so many people think, fear is fear, when it comes to your purpose, it means you have a healthy appreciation for the responsibility and accountability which is being placed into your hands. And so learning how your trauma and healing from that, how it fuels that appreciation to be successful.
I love
And
it.
so they
I love it.
will, I think your listeners and your readers will just really appreciate that one.
I love it. I love it. Okay, I just want to say thank you again. I really do appreciate you. I appreciate what you do on many levels, on multiple levels, and I really want to connect with you because even more, especially when it relates to um, dealing with the kids in foster care because yeah, we just need to talk about
Yeah.
figure that out because that's dear to my heart and you know but hold on, let me close out, and I'm gonna come back and we're gonna talk. Hold on one second.
Okay.
They don't need to know everything, they gotta surprise them on some stuff. Hold on.
We'll do that.
Yes, we will. All right, so y'all heard it. Like, I mean, is it just me or do y'all love Juanita? Like, she she dropped some dimes, and I can't even say she dropped some coins. She dropped some dollar bills on us to say, like, think about what you're saying. Think about what you're doing. The things that you do that happened to you in your past, it does not define who you are. However, what we did here was this, and I wanted to make sure, and I wrote it down so I could bring it back to you and play it again. What like the DJ, play that thing again. What she said was there was a fear of individuals who are living successfully because one, they don't even realize they have trauma or they need healing. They don't think that nothing is wrong because they have lived in chaos and dysfunction most of their life. And when something traumatic and devastating happens, they fall apart and they're ready to run. They're ready to jump. They're ready to jump ship. They don't want to be a part of it. And I have a question for you. I know I gave you one at the beginning. Make sure you tap into that. What does that little girl need from you? But the other thing I want you to ask yourself is this: is my need to please other people tied to something that happened in my childhood? I guarantee you your answer will be yes. Listen, my answer is yes, Lord. Yes, your answer will be yes. Because regardless if we admit it or not, all of our lives we have worked to please someone. And while you are sitting here trying as an adult to be successful, having 11 different careers, 5 million businesses, writing a gazillion books, I guarantee you they all are because you want to hear someone say, good job, because you never heard it. Well, baby, look in the mirror and tell yourself, good job. Because remember, you are the CEO of your own life. It is up to you to be the boss, to be bold, optimistic, strategic, and self reliant. The other thing as the CEO is remember, you get a chance to promote, demote, and terminate anything and anyone at any time because you are the boss. That's your life is your business. I need you. I need you. I need you. The world needs you. And if you're walking around here afraid to speak, we can't use you because you're not going to open your mouth. And you have a lesson, you have an assignment. You are created to help someone. Please figure out what it is. Figure out what that little girl needs this week. And then reach out. That's what I'm here for. And I guarantee you, we'll make it happen if you're willing. But at first, you got to be willing. All right. I'll see y'all next week. I love you.